She gave him life, not once, but twice. But in Lagos, love can turn to betrayal, in the blink of an eye. And when the dust settles, you might lose the one soul you can't live without. The morning sun in Surulere didn't just rise, it climbed slowly, like it knew the streets needed time to wake. Tin roofs caught the light first, then the dusty windows, then the restless faces of traders setting up their stalls. In one corner of a cramped street, where the air smelled of beans boiling and kerosene smoke, a woman stepped out carrying a small bucket of water. Her wrapper was faded but clean, her hair tied neatly, her back straight despite years of carrying more than her share of life's weight. Mama F. People knew her by that name. Not because her son was famous then, he wasn't, but because she carried him like a medal on her chest. She had raised him alone since the day his father vanished. She didn't waste words talking about the man. Her eyes said enough when his name came up, eyes that had learned to swallow bitterness without spilling it. F was her only child. He was tall for his age, with sharp eyes that took in more than they let on. But in those days, sharp eyes didn't mean much. Poverty was a stubborn thing. It stayed even when you worked hard. Mama F sold rice and beans from a roadside table, feeding Okada riders and market women. On good days, she came home with enough to cook. On bad days, they both went to bed with empty stomachs. It was in those days that sickness came knocking. At first, it was small things. F complained of being tired. He lost his appetite. Mama F thought it was just stress, maybe he needed more food, more rest. But the days turned to weeks, and F began to shrink before her eyes. His skin lost its color, his voice grew weak. Then one evening, he collapsed outside their door. The hospital was loud, smelling of antiseptic and fear. Doctors ran tests, whispered to each other, and finally came to her with the truth. His kidneys were failing. Without a transplant, he would die. Mama F didn't cry in front of them. She waited until they left, then sat by her son's bed, holding his hand as he slept. Her mind was a storm. How could a woman who barely made enough for food afford such a thing? She didn't know. All she knew was that she wouldn't lose him. When the tests came back showing she was a match, there was no hesitation. Take it, she told them. The doctors explained the risks, the surgery, the recovery, the pain. She didn't care. The day of the surgery, F woke to find her smiling at him, even though she was pale and weak from the operation. They stayed side by side in hospital beds, both stitched and sore, both alive. F held her hand and promised himself, and God, that one day, he would give her the life she deserved. Life after that was a climb. He started working small, washing cars, then helping mechanics. He learned fast, learned how to talk to customers, how to judge a car's worth with one look. Bit by bit, he rose. By the time he was in his 30s, F was no longer just another man in Lagos. He was a name. A luxury car dealer with a shining glass-fronted showroom in Lekki, a fleet of high-end cars that made heads turn from Victoria Island to Banana Island. But in business, the higher you climbed, the more enemies looked up at you. One of them was Musa. Musa had been in the game longer, a sharp, calculating man who didn't like competition. While F built his empire with charm and trust, Musa used influence and fear. He knew customs officers, had police numbers on speed dial. And he had one goal, to make sure F's rise ended. At first, the rivalry was quiet. Musa undercut his prices, spread small rumors. But soon, it became war. Shipments meant for F were lost at the port. Documents vanished. Clients were stolen overnight. It was business in Lagos, dirty, dangerous, and personal. Still, F's mother remained his anchor. Every Sunday, he drove to her modest flat in Surulere. They would eat together, laugh about the old days, talk about his dreams. She never asked for much. Just his time. Blessings wasn't just beautiful, she was the kind of beautiful Lagos men whispered about. Skin like polished bronze, a smile that could melt the stiffness out of any room, and a confidence that made people look twice. She came from a respected Yoruba family in Ikeja, a family that valued presentation, status, and keeping circles clean. F met her at a car unveiling event in Victoria Island. She wasn't there for the cars, she was there for the crowd. But the way she carried herself, the way her laughter floated above the hum of voices, pulled him in. Their first conversation lasted less than 10 minutes, but it left an imprint. She found him interesting. He found her different. Within months, they were inseparable. Mama F met her once before the wedding. She was polite, respectful in words, but there was something in her tone, an edge. Mama F felt it but said nothing. Her son was happy, and that was enough for her. The wedding was grand. Pictures splashed across social media, with captions about Lagos' youngest luxury car king tying the knot. F stood tall in his suit, Blessings in a dress that shimmered under the lights. Musa was there too, uninvited but smiling like he belonged. His handshake lingered a second too long when he congratulated F. The first months of marriage were smooth. Blessings moved into the mansion in Lekki, her designer clothes filling wardrobes, her perfume scenting the air. Mama F stayed in her own place, visiting sometimes but never for long. Then came the day F suggested his mother move in. It was a simple thought, she was aging, her health was fragile after the surgery years ago. He wanted her close, where he could care for her. But when he mentioned it to Blessings, her response was swift, almost instinctive. "I cannot live with mother-in-law." She said it like it was a fact, not an opinion. F laughed at first, thinking she was joking. But the way she folded her arms, the firmness in her eyes, told him she wasn't. "I'm serious, F. I've heard stories. I don't want tension in my own home. She can stay where she is. We'll visit her, send money. That's enough." F tried to reason with her. "It's not about money, Blessings. She's my mother. She gave me life twice, the second time with her kidney. I can't leave her alone." But Blessings didn't bend. The argument simmered for weeks, small comments slipping into casual conversations. Finally, F made the decision without her agreement. One Sunday, he drove to Surulere, packed his mother's few belongings, and brought her to the mansion. Mama F protested softly, knowing she was stepping into a storm, but he wouldn't hear it. "This is your home now," he told her. From the first night, the air in the house changed. Blessings greeted Mama F with stiff politeness, her smiles tight, her voice clipped. She began to complain about small things, the way Mama F arranged the kitchen, the Yoruba TV dramas she watched, the slippers she left by the sitting room door. Within weeks, the house became a battlefield. Doors slammed. Voices rose. Blessing started avoiding the dining table when Mama F was there. F found himself caught between them, playing mediator, peacemaker, and sometimes, silent witness to cold wars fought with looks instead of words. Meanwhile, Musa was turning up the heat in business. 2 shipments of F's luxury cars were held at the port for inspection. Weeks passed, and the cars never made it out. Rumors spread that F was struggling financially. Some clients backed out of deals. When F traced the problem, Musa's fingerprints were all over it. Though never directly enough for proof. At home, the tension reached second-to-hell levels. Blessings began withholding affection, moving through the house like F wasn't there. One night, after a particularly bitter fight over Mama F's presence, she dropped her signature line again, only sharper. "I told you, I cannot live with mother-in-law. If you love her so much, go live with her and leave me out of it." It was the first time she hinted at separation. The words lodged in F's chest, but he stood his ground. For now. The fights at home were like a slow-burning fire, never fully dying, never quite exploding, but always hot enough to scorch the air. Blessings had learned to shift her tactics. Instead of constant arguments, she began withdrawing into a quiet coldness that was almost worse. She cooked less, stayed out longer, answered F with one-word replies. When he tried to talk, she'd sigh deeply, as if he were exhausting her, and walk away. The worst part was the silence between them at night, two bodies on the same bed, backs turned, breaths heavy but unsynchronized. Mama F noticed it all. She had the kind of eyes that saw without asking, that understood without demanding an explanation. But she kept her words soft, her presence small, hoping not to be the wedge that drove her son's marriage into the ground. One Thursday morning, F left for the office earlier than usual. He had a meeting with a potential client who wanted a rare European model. If he could close the deal, it would be a strong signal to the market, and to Musa, that he wasn't going anywhere. What he didn't know was that Musa had already been sowing seeds elsewhere. It began innocently enough, a chance meeting between Musa and Blessings at a high-end spa in Victoria Island. She was leaving with her friends when he walked in. He greeted her with that too friendly smile, the one that never reached his eyes. "I hope F is treating you well," Musa said, his tone laced with a kind of sympathy that didn't belong. Blessings gave him a measured look. "We're fine." Musa tilted his head. Fine is not the same as happy. It was a dangerous line to cross, but Musa knew where to push. Over the next weeks, he made himself accidentally present in her world. Sending flowers to her boutique shop on behalf of the business community, calling to ask if she needed a car upgrade, inviting her to private events where F wasn't present. Blessings didn't shut him out. She told herself it was harmless. But every conversation with Musa included subtle jabs at F's decisions, especially the one about his mother living in the house. At home, the tension grew thicker. Blessings complained of feeling like a stranger in her own home. F defended his mother at first, but his business troubles were mounting. 2 more shipments delayed. A client payment mysteriously rerouted. Whenever he chased the trail, it led to dead ends, and Musa's shadow loomed just out of reach. Then one night, after a long day at work, F came home to find Blessings waiting in the living room. Her posture was calm, her voice soft, too soft. "F, we can't keep living like this. Your mother, she's not happy here. I'm not happy here. You have to choose." It was the moment he had feared since the beginning. He tried to reason, but her eyes stayed hard. "If you want this marriage to survive, she has to go back to where you brought her from." That night, F couldn't sleep. He lay awake, the ceiling above him a blur, his mind a storm. He thought of his mother's sacrifices, the years she had gone without so he could have. But he also thought of his business, his reputation, the home he had built with Blessings. He was a man pulled in two, and both sides were cutting him open. The decision didn't come quickly, but it came. One Saturday morning, he told Mama F they were going for a drive. He took her back to Surulere, to the small apartment she had left behind. She didn't argue, she just looked at him with eyes that carried more pain than words could hold. When he drove away, the silence in the car was heavier than the Lagos traffic around him. Back at the mansion, Blessings smiled faintly and kissed his cheek. "You did the right thing," she whispered. But that night, she sent a message to Musa. For the first time in months, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Blessings moved around with an ease that F hadn't seen in years. She started cooking again, humming while she chopped vegetables in the kitchen. She laughed more, wore brighter clothes, even started planning weekend getaways for them. If F noticed that her phone was always face down on the table or that she stepped outside to take certain calls, he didn't comment. He was tired of fighting. After all, his business was demanding every ounce of his attention, and it wasn't good news. Clients were backing out of deals without warning. A warehouse that stored his vehicles in Apapa was accidentally double-booked, pushing his shipments into limbo. He had to pay extra just to get space for his own goods. And somehow, Musa's name kept surfacing in whispers, though no one would confirm anything outright. What F didn't know was that Musa and Blessings were now meeting regularly, not in public, but in the quiet corners of luxury hotel lounges. The conversations were short, direct, and dangerous. "The documents are in his office," Blessings said one evening, her tone casual as she sipped her wine. "He trusts me with the keys." Musa leaned forward, his eyes sharp. "The property deeds? The account details? All of it?" It was a plan that would have sounded insane months ago, but now it was perfectly calculated. If they could get F's signed authorization on a few routine papers and slip in the right transfers, Musa could take over his major assets without a public fight. Blessings would get her cut, more than enough to start fresh somewhere far away. At home, Blessings played the role of the supportive wife flawlessly. She massaged F's shoulders when he came back late, brought him tea as he pored over business files, listened quietly as he complained about delays and losses. Then, one evening, she struck. She walked into his study with a neat stack of papers. "F, these are just some updates from the bank. Routine signatures, nothing serious. I already spoke to the manager, it's just to keep our accounts in order." F barely glanced at them. He was on a call with a frustrated client, pacing the room. He signed where she pointed, grateful that she was handling things for once. Days later, the first transfers began. It was gradual at first, a few million here, another there. Enough to pass unnoticed. But within 2 weeks, major accounts were emptying, property rights were shifting, and F had no idea he was signing away the empire he had built. Meanwhile, in Surulere, Mama F's life had shrunk back into the shadows. The little apartment felt colder than before. She kept herself busy sweeping, cooking small meals, and sitting by the window, waiting for her son's visits. But they came less often. When she fell sick, she didn't call him immediately. She didn't want to disturb his new peace. Back in Lekki, the final phase of Musa and Blessing's plan was ready. One last set of signatures, one last transfer, and F's holdings would be gone. But greed has a way of loosening lips. On the day they planned the final move, Blessings met Musa in a quiet cafe. They were discussing how to split the last payout when a man in the next booth overheard them. He recognized F's name instantly, he had once worked security for the dealer. And he still had F's number. That night, F got the call. The voice on the other end of the phone was urgent, almost breathless. "F, a beg, I no fit keep this to myself. Your wife and Musa, they want collect everything way you get. I hear 'em with my own ear today. The man no day joke, Oga, it's almost done." For a long moment, F said nothing. He just sat there at his desk, the pen in his hand trembling. The words didn't make sense. Blessings? His wife? Working with Musa? Are you sure? His voice was low, dangerous. "Oga, I swear on my life. If you no act tonight, not everything go vanish by morning." When the call ended, F felt a heaviness in his chest. A mix of rage and disbelief. He didn't even take his jacket. Just grabbed his car keys and drove like a madman into the night, Lagos traffic be damned. He went first to the hotel where Musa was known to meet clients. And there they were, in the lounge, sitting close. Blessings was laughing at something Musa said, her hand brushing his as they passed a folder between them. F walked straight to the table, his shadow falling over them. Musa looked up, smirking like the devil himself. Blessings froze, the color draining from her face. "You," F's voice was ice, "have been eating at my table and poisoning my food." "Business is business, my friend," Musa said casually, leaning back in his chair. "You were too slow. Too soft." F didn't reply. He grabbed the folder, flipped it open, and there it was. The last set of transfer papers, signed by him. His own signature, in black ink. Something inside him cracked. "You," he said again, turning to Blessings, "were supposed to be my home, my peace." "I told you," she snapped, her voice suddenly sharp, "I cannot live with a mother-in-law. You chose her over me. Now I choose myself." Her words echoed in his head as he stormed out. But there was only one thought left, Mama. He drove to Surulere like the streets were on fire. He didn't even feel the speed bumps, didn't see the people shouting as he swerved past. He just needed to get to her, to bring her back, to say what he hadn't said in too long. When he arrived, the door was unlocked. The neighbor was the first to meet him at the gate. Her eyes told the story before her lips moved. "I'm sorry. Mama no wake up this morning." The world went silent. He walked inside, slow, as if moving too fast would break what little was left of him. There she was, lying on the bed, a blanket pulled up to her chest. Peaceful. Still. Gone. Sank to his knees beside her, his hands gripping the blanket. All the years, all the sacrifices, the kidney she gave, the nights she went hungry so he could eat, and in the end, he had left her alone. "Mama. I came too late," he whispered, his tears falling freely. Outside, the city kept moving. Cars honked, traders shouted, buses roared by. But inside that small room, time had stopped. Didn't think about Musa, or Blessings, or the empire that was slipping through his fingers. None of it mattered now. The one person who had loved him without condition was gone. And there was no getting her back. In the end, he had the cars, the house, but lost the only heart that truly beat for him. Some stories are lessons, some are warnings, and some, like this, must never be forgotten. Thank you for following this story. What lessons do you learn from the story? I will love to read your comments in the comments section. Give this story a thumbs up and please subscribe to this channel if you have not done that. It is my prayer that this story reach out to those people that need it. I believe by share this story, I might be saving someone. Maybe one or two, so I indulge you to share this story out. This is not fiction. Share to your brother, son, your friends, church and everywhere I bring another story your way by.